Hey folks, welcome back to the DroneOn Show. It's Mike. Today we have another episode where I was on the road at the drone convention and I sat down with lots of different applicators at that show, just having casual conversations with them on how they got started and where they're at now. And so today is another one of those episodes where I'm on the road and having a conversation with another spray drone business. Let's get into it. All right, guys, welcome back to the podcast. So we're talking, I'm going to have you guys both introduce yourself, and then we're going to roll right into it.
So Jesse Bailey, South Alabama Drone Service. I started this a couple of years ago. Grew up in Alabama, multi-generational farm family. My son will grow crops on the grounds that my grandfather grew crops on if he decides to.
Wow. And then
I'm Henry Bell, and I'm his one of his pilots.
Okay, so a worker or a pilot for South Alabama Drone Service. Cool. All right, so we're going to hop right into it.
Yep.
So many generations of agricultural background.
That's right.
Okay.
So grew up on a farm. We had cattle, row crop, grew peanuts, cotton, soybeans, grain sorghum, a little bit of everything, a lot of beef cattle. And then went away to college, started a career as a mechanic, come back and herniated a disc in my back and I had to find something else to do. Couldn't turn wrenches on heavy equipment anymore.
Yeah.
So got into spray drones literally a month before I herniated a disc in my back.
Wow. Okay, so got into spray drones. How did you get into spray drones?
We needed it for our own farm.
Okay.
We needed it to do our own stuff.
But how did you know how it works? What type of research did you do?
Saw a couple of videos online.
So Taylor's AgriSpray videos? Or?
Yeah, I think it was some of his and just pictures and videos on Facebook, a few different things. Didn't know much about it at all. Googled AgriSpray, found a phone number, called it. It was not AgriSpray. It was somebody the name was like one letter off.
Oh.
And they were also from Missouri. And they come down, they sold us a drone.
Whoa.
They sold
what year was this?
3 years ago, so 22.
Okay. No way. Okay, so this individual knew what the AgriSpray was building and then got you to click on their website. Oh my gosh.
And we got the phone number, called him up, said, hey, we want a drone, send us a quote, sent him a check. He flew in and we'd set everything up. I had no experience flying drones other than like a camera drone.
Yeah.
And got everything going and he disappeared. He was supposed to spend 2 days with us. He spent like 3 hours.
Okay.
And left. And then he went ahead, like I was saying, he was supposed to set our 44807 up, our 137 up, all this stuff. I get all these documents in, and it's all bogus. It's all doctor.
How did you know it was Dr. Up?
I got set up with AgriSpray as a dealer next year, and I sent it all to Charlie. And I'm like, hey, man, just look at this stuff and tell me, what I'm missing. Is it right? And he's like, sorry, man, but you got to start over. Like, this is all.
Oh, my gosh.
It's all junk. It's no good. I didn't know, not even an N number. I didn't know we had to have an N number. I didn't even have an N number.
And you were spraying. Yep, just ripping. Yeah, cool. How many acres did you spray?
Like 9,000.
With one drone?
Yeah.
No way.
Yeah, first year.
9,000 acres, one drone.
Yeah.
It had to be flatter than a pancake.
It was a T40, yeah, with one drone by myself.
Tell me more. Like, how'd you do 9,000 acres?
We started spraying our own peanuts, and there was a line of people that heard from the cafe down the road that they're spraying with a drone down there, and by lunchtime there was a line of trucks down the road, parked in the road, watching. And they're like, can you come do mine? I'm like, I guess so.
No way.
And they, can you come do mine? Can you come do mine? It turned into like a 3-week-long list of, can you do this? Can you do that?
Okay, and so you're just figuring this drone thing out. What type of trailer setup did you have at that time?
I went to a local trailer, like the thing on the side of the road.
Yep, so just made something up.
I just made something up. I grabbed some tanks off some of our old equipment. They were like 300-gallon elliptical tanks and a tote, like it's an old chemical tote for fresh water. And I went to Granger and got me a pump, and we started hodgepodging stuff from leftover sprayers. And it worked. I mean, it worked fine. It's suspended chemical. It mixed up well. I can measure out real well. Now, I had to reinvent the wheel 2 or 3 times. We still reinvent the trailer every time, every couple of months. We're like, we want to change this, we want to do that. And now I think we're on trailer like number 4 that we built ourselves.
Okay. So the 9,000 acres, was it mostly flat? Is that what it is down here in Alabama?
Yeah.
Just flat?
Mostly it's going to be 40 acres, 60 acres. A big field around here is 100. Like, that's a big field.
Okay.
So
40 acres would be nice. We don't even have those. If it's it's a 20-acre field, we're like, ooh, nice field.
We have some of those too. 17.
Okay. Wow.
I sent Henry to do a 6-acre field yesterday.
Okay. I mean, that's kind of standard where we're from. 6 to 10-acre fields. Yep. So, Henry, you're flying for him now. So you flew by yourself for the first year?
Yeah, almost 2 years.
Oh, almost 2 years.
Year and a half.
When did you bring Henry in, and why did you bring him in?
April of last year, right?
I started in April, and I didn't even know Jesse before, but I knew his dad, and I met him, and I was looking for a job, and he called me, and it worked pretty well.
Did you have your Part 107 at that time?
I didn't have it when I started.
Okay. Pretty easy to get? Yeah? Like, some guys are freaked out about getting it. I'm like, if you study 3-4 days hard, you should be able to pass it on day 5. That's usually what I tell them.
Yeah, I like to tell people a couple hours at night or before while you're eating breakfast or whatever, get the stuff out and look at it. Because
I tell people just sit down, just hammer it like you'd be going to school. Do it, 8 hours or whatever. But, no, that's probably a better way to do it.
Well, I mean, I really think it depends on the person's attention, span. It's, I can't.
For sure.
Yeah, I'm like a squirrel. I got to find something to do, something different every 30 seconds.
Yeah,
so,
I was different. I sat down for like 4 days and just watched a shit ton of videos. And went and took the test, failed 2 questions.
Yeah.
So I overstudied by a lot, but
so the only ones that really got me was the towers. There was like one map with like towers like outside of New Orleans. I'm like, how does this even apply to a drone? This is like Class B airspace, and you're asking me about a tower. We're never going to be here.
Yep. Most of the stuff doesn't even apply to drones. But
it doesn't. But I think it's still valuable information that if somebody's flying drones should know.
Yeah.
Okay, so you started off with 1. How many do you guys have now?
It's a revolving door of between 3 to 5.
And why does it revolve between 3 and 5?
Because people show up with checks and they want to
they buy. They buy them.
Yeah.
No way. Okay, so
we sell DJI drones and like you do. And, somebody sees us spraying and like, hey, we need a drone. And I'm like, well, I got one that's got 1,000 acres on it. We opened it up 2 weeks ago. And
I see.
And the registration's applied for and all that stuff, and I just pass it off to them. And when the registration form comes in, we do the short form and flip it to them, and they're good.
Nice.
And that also gives me an avenue. I try to do this all without borrowing any money. So I bought everything up until recently straight cash, but we're trying to grow. So
So that was going to be a question I was going to have for you when you first started. Were you able to pay cash or a loan? Because a lot of people are coming in and buying a lot of money, or buying a lot of equipment, costing a lot of money. And in the beginning, the banks didn't know how to loan on this, but
they still don't. They're getting better, but
they're getting better.
So I started with about $47,000 in cash.
Okay.
My first T40 and the FAA regulation package I was sold, it was like $36,000, $37,000. And then I went and bought a $4,500 trailer. I got some tanks off of old equipment. I got some fittings from the John Deere store. I plumbed everything up. I bought me an inductor tank. And then that was pretty much it. I started out cash. Okay. And so I was about 47 in it, and I used my 22-year-old pickup truck, which Henry still drives. Okay. And it's 25 years old now. But anyway.
Dude, that truck's paid for itself.
Yeah, it's like on a second transmission and built the engine myself. And
how many acres are you guys doing now? Like if you did 9,000 first year, let's guess. I'm going to guess. 9,000 first year, 50,000, 60,000?
The goal this year is 50,000 acres.
Jeez.
With 2 guys.
2 guys.
Yeah, that's impressive.
We have a ground guy that helps us, but he's still in school. He does his school.
50,000 acres with 2 guys, and how many trailer setups? 2 or 1?
One. We have 1 trailer and 1 truck, and everything. We have a spray system on a truck that's mounted to that old F-250 that we can land on top of for doing small jobs, and then we take a trailer for big jobs. Okay. So the trailer holds 1,000 gallons. We have a 525 freshwater tank and 525 or 520 mixed tank, 525 gallon mixed tank, and then we have a 65 gallon inductor on there, and then I'll stage a water wagon, 1,000 gallon water wagon if we need that. So additional water, we can stage it wherever. But no, we just go crank it out, man.
Yeah, that's cool. How can
that
you?
That is cranking it out for two guys.
Yeah, I would say. How can you afford to hire a pilot full time? Because isn't drone spraying in this area seasonal, kind of like it is in Ohio?
No, first spray day this year was January 2nd. The last spray day would be about December 15th.
Oh, geez, Jason, what are we doing?
Don't think about moving.
No. What?
We'll be here next year.
Yeah. What?
No, I'm not saying it's like,
not
100
super
hours.
busy all the time.
It's not. But, yeah, there's things to do every week. There's something to do every week.
Wow.
Just about every week.
That is impressive. And
February.
that's why Henry's flying drones for you.
And I have my own business, too, it's really in the winter, so I just
what's that business?
I bag corn and feed and seed and stuff like that.
Okay. Sell it to the deer hunters or what?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
I do.
Exactly.
Nice. Are there deer down here?
Yeah, I sold over 25,000 bags this past season.
25,000 bags.
And he hand-bagged it all.
Holy smokes.
Wait, I'm not going to do the numbers on that, but if you got $5 a bag.
I get more than that, but
he probably gets like $10.
$7.50.
Yeah, about $7.50.
Nuts knuckle that out.
Yeah.
There you go, dude.
You guys got to figure it out.
Yeah, during the wintertime, he's got his things to do. And he grows his own corn, and so he grows his own crop to bag. So this time of year, when we're not super busy, I can handle most everything by myself or with our helper. And then he'll go take, like this week he was planting corn, strip killing.
Wow.
Last week.
Yeah.
Dude, how many acres you got?
Right now I'm right at 600 total.
Dude, that's cool. And are you applying any products?
Everything except for I do a pass with atrazine and Roundup, and it's just we did it with the drone and it worked good. It's just such a hot mix. It's so much chemical in there. I mean, it's a gallon of chemical by itself.
Okay.
So I did that with the tractor, but everything else I do with the drones.
Oh, yeah. Do you do any, like, granule applications with the drone?
We do a lot of cover crop seeding, and we've done a few fertilizer jobs, but it's just not.
Yeah, it's so heavy. It's like you have to
loading. Too many pounds per acre.
Yeah.
And then we did this week. I did 250 acres of liquid fertilizer at a gallon an acre.
Yeah.
Foliar
So
feed.
we actually we're doing that.
Yeah.
It
worked
north.
well. It worked really well.
Yeah.
And he put some fungicide in there as well.
So with that many acres under your belt, have you figured out the exact parameters to fly, this product on?
That's a hour by hour decision. There's a lot of factors out there.
Yeah, tell us more. Like maybe somebody that's listening, you can.
Sure. So you would have to pick a product, right? So let's just say we're doing Roundup and we're doing Burn Down, and it was windy. We would slow down. We would go to like 500 micron, 28-foot width, about 26, 27 feet per second.
Okay.
No wind, perfectly fine. We're going to let it rip 32.8 and, a 30-foot swath, and we're going to cut it back to like a 320 micron.
Yep.
So we get really good droplets everywhere, right? And down here, there's not a lot of leaves on the trees right now. So the wind really blows through those tree lines.
Yep.
And during the summertime, there's a lot of foliage around the edges, a lot of wind breaks. Then that really makes a difference.
Okay.
Especially when you're talking about these smaller fields, right? Because the wind is blocking it.
Yep.
It's a big sail all the way around it. So we like to look at what the drone's doing and make small adjustments until we get the pattern looking just like we want it.
Okay.
So sometimes we might be flying 28 feet per second. Sometimes we might be flying 24. And then in forestry, we really slow down. When we start doing forestry, we do like 15 feet per second.
Okay.
To try to blow it down in more?
Try to blow it down in more because they go in and cut all the trees, but they leave things that are non-desirable. You think about a $300,000 cutter with carbide teeth on it. He don't want to cut down sweet gum trees. He don't want to ruin his cutter head over cutting down on small sweet gum trees. So they'll take all the desirable woods out of there, and they'll leave these little small trees where you have to go just high enough to get over them. Well, you don't want to have a bunch of drifts, so you really want to slow down and blow it down in there.
Okay. That's valuable.
So it really changes.
So when you're ripping 32.8 feet per second, you're saying your swath you think is 32 feet, or are you thinking it's 30 feet?
I would like to say 32, but I would rather get better coverage and make sure we didn't miss anything.
Okay, so I'm going to show you a picture, and I know for a fact I was there.
I would like to do 30. That would be.
Oh, yeah? Okay, so this is my theory on it, and I don't know if I'm right for sure or not. But when I look at it, it is definitely 34 in my eyes. And if I go 32 route spacing, that means I'm going to have a foot overlap on each side. Would you say is that good or bad?
I would say it's pretty good.
Okay.
And it depends on the product that you're putting out there, right?
Fungicide.
So fungicide, okay, we're talking about spores that are moving with the air. And sometimes they attach themselves to a plant. So if we have that fungicide in the vicinity of where it's going to be, I'm not saying like 20 feet off target, but within a foot or so, it's going to be very effective in my opinion.
Okay, so look at this picture here. Farmer John sends me this picture. Can you tell me what's going on with it?
It looks like it's striped.
Yeah, so it's perfectly streaked. But I was there. I filmed it. I have the drones laying it down, no wind. But why do we have light streaks and dark streaks? My theory is the light streaks
over-applicated a little?
Yeah.
Well, and it's just going to be the same as a fertilizer, like spreading fertilizer with a buggy. It's going to be the same thing as any aerial application. You can go behind the buggy that says, oh, we're going to spread 12 rows wide, but at 16 rows there's fertilizer, and it's not going to be uniform all the way across. And
it's going to be heavier and lighter?
You're going to probably have, no matter what you set your width at, unless it's, within reason, you're going to have some, you want there to be overlap there.
Yeah. So farmer sends me this picture, is upset because he feels like the drone streaked, but I'm trying to say, like, it looks like it's streaked, but I know I got coverage on that.
And you can prove it with the as-applied maps, right? You can go to every flight and see.
Yeah.
So
when you don't know, at that point, you don't really know what caused the streaking.
Right, because the corn is now dead, and he's looking at, well, this corn is not completely dead or as much dead as the one next to it.
So last year was a really bad disease year, too. Is that in Indiana or Illinois?
This was Ohio.
Yeah. So Indiana, we saw a lot of black tar spot later in the year.
Yep.
And, just devastated. And down here, too, we had a really dry summer. And anytime you have a really dry summer, it's hot, it's humid. We got moist air coming off the Gulf. It's just breeding fungus, right? So, and also, it may not be an application problem. It could have been a chemical problem. It could have been a water problem. It could have been, there's a lot of things.
But you know what's weird is we went and sprayed fields for that same farmer right across the hill. Nothing. No difference. So it's just there's
same
so many
chemical,
same everything.
everything.
There's the same load and everything. It's
same
like,
water.
I don't understand.
And the other side of the hill was good. It's like that is crazy.
It's like there's so many variables when doing an application. It's like just because this field looks like that doesn't mean that it didn't cover properly. Like you're saying, it could have been a chemical, could have been a water. But then I'd say, well, that doesn't make sense because we just did a field down the road. But then I would say, well, it was maybe 200 feet elevation where this field was, or it held a lot more fog.
Yes.
Right? And so the disease was heavier up there than it was down there, or whatever, right? Vice versa. But it's interesting when you get that because I'm a drone applicator, and I want to do the best drone application. I want to do the best application, period.
Yeah.
Whatever I'm doing, I want to do it the best. And then when I get that, I'm like, I know I hit that.
So
how can I do it better?
Yeah. I mean, if you're going to be successful in life, it don't matter if you're breaking rocks into little rocks. You want to make the best little rocks you can make. And because your customer's going to be like, hey, man, that man makes the best little rocks,
Yeah.
But, I mean, I don't know. I think you're right. If you took this river that we're on and you put markers from here as far as we can see down there and you looked at the wind, like a piece of ribbon or something like that, I think you'd be really surprised if you put a camera on every one of them and overlaid them, like put them in different corners of the TV or something, and looked at how things moved around out there. I mean, you can kind of do it with the water, but there's a lot of ships and stuff and a boom out there stopping things. But it's going to move that fungus around, I think. It's going to move disease around, temperature, fog, humidity. Everything's going to move around. There's so many variables. I don't.
So but there would have been no way to check that day other than putting some tape out or some paper out to see if the application was applied properly. But it doesn't even come down to was it applied properly, was the chemical, was the everything like you're saying.
Could have just been more disease there. How many years had corn been in that field?
Good question. I should ask that. See, I want to learn. Are those questions I should ask when I go out?
Was that other field in beans last year? And was this corn on corn on corn? Was this year 3 of corn? Was that residue? Was there mildew in the residue left over from last summer that didn't get turned in this spring that just rose up?
Dude, I like this because you guys are farmers. I wouldn't know.
I mean, is it different variety? It could have been a nutrient problem from the beginning. It could have been.
So when somebody puts something on Facebook, right, there's these Facebook groups, I don't even get involved because there's so many things that unless you're having a conversation like this where you and I are just trying to talk it through, you get, well, you didn't do this or you should have done that. It's like there's so many variables that trying to put it out there, just a picture, hey, can you tell me what's wrong here?
Nah.
It's not going to work. Yeah, that's good. But you guys are farmers and applicators, so I think that the people that are listening, you guys have a wealth of knowledge that you can share with them that could potentially help them be a better applicator or make a smart decision. Do I want to have a drone, do my application stuff?
Exactly.
Do you guys travel?
Yes. So Illinois, we have a big client in Indiana that's got a lot of acres in Illinois for us this year. We went to Texas about a month ago. I try to stay out of Mississippi at all possible.
Okay.
Why?
Man, it's always some kind of dramatic thing where you go over there and somebody didn't like it and the neighbor saw you in there and they call the extension office and they're like, this guy killed my blueberry bushes 6 miles away, and there was no way it happened. And you go out there and there's no damage to anything, and it's just been a bad experience every time.
Yeah. So it's just the people.
I think they're hanging on to the airplane as long as possible.
Oh.
And they don't – it's not necessarily the person that wants you to come. It's the people around you.
Yeah.
The people around that are something.
That's crazy.
We've had problems with airplanes here.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
They move to a field, and they'd move close enough so that we can't fly. And then we'd move to another field, and they'd change their route, taxiing, and we'd – we spent a whole day.
A whole day one day with an airplane, and he would make sure that his turnarounds were over our field whenever he had 3/4 of a mile on either side of us that he could have turned around, and he knew that we were supposed to yield to him.
Yeah.
And he knew that all he had to do was open up his phone and take some videos of us not yielding to him. And
that's bullshit.
And then every time he would leave to go ferry to go fill, we would knock out 20 acres or 30 acres, and then he'd come back and he'd turn around over us all day long.
Wow. That's just wrong.
That is ignorant.
It's wrong.
And the thing is, I'm trying to get them to charge more, and they're charging less, and they're jealous of something.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
So your service, you're charging more than an airplane, and you're still doing work? Why is that, you think?
We can get in the corners. We can go underneath the power lines. We turn around inside the field. We're doing a better job.
Have you ever been able to do a field side by side? This one was done with drones, and this one was done with airplanes, and see a difference?
I have done it with a ground rig and a drone, but not airplane versus drone.
Okay.
So my dad had 90 acres of peanuts, and then we had 130 acres down the road, just a little piece down the road 2 years ago. And one year we did all our fungicide with the drone, and we did all our fungicide on the 90 acres with the drone, and all our fungicide on the 130 acres with a ground rig.
Different gallons per acre or same gallons per acre?
Different gallons per acre. The drone was doing 2 gallons. The ground sprayer was doing 5.
There's no way that you got the same type of results. I mean,
yeah. We combined more peanuts off of 85 acres, total tonnage, more than double the tons of peanuts off 85 acres than we did off a whole 130 acres, 50 acres more. 45.
Tell me why you think that is.
Because the drone was putting the fungicide underneath the leaf. And peanuts lay flat on the ground. They grow underneath. The vine grows on top of the ground. White mold gets in the moist area between the plant on top of the ground. And white mold makes the roots really soft, and it hurts the yield. When you dig them, you'll have a lot of digger loss from white mold. And we were turning those leaves over. The drone was turning those leaves over.
At what speed were you applying this?
We was slow.
Okay, I was going to say you were really pounding it down.
24.
Oh, did you have 4 nozzles set up to do that? No?
That was my first T40. I didn't even know how to go faster than 24 feet per second.
Okay.
So I was like, it was a brand new thing.
Wow. That's
crazy.
Impressive. Because, same scenario. I just show you that cornfield. We're working for a co-op doing that. We're doing 2-gallon work. They have a ground rig. Lots of ground rigs. They cover 70, 80,000 acres or something like that in our area. So they like ground rigs because they've been able to do it. Now they'll use us if it's wet or some farmers don't want them in their fields because they're smashing their crop. And he does 15 gallons per acre with fungicide, the same stuff we were putting down, and he's
he is saying that his ground rig is getting a higher yield. I was like, okay, I get that, but we can't compare it apples to apples. You're putting a lot more product, maybe not chemical, but actual total product, total solution, you're putting more on. You should get better coverage if you're putting that much on. And he's, coming back and saying the drone yielded 8 bushels more per acre, and the ground rig did 15 bushels. I'm like, well, I don't like that test. Can we do an exact test? I have no problem slowing it down. And so to hear you give that, it's 5 gallons versus 2 gallons is a lot closer than it is 2 gallons versus 15.
Right. And I think that's probably going to be a Haggy, right?
Yeah, it was I think they have a John Deere and they jack it up.
Oh, okay. Yeah, so we have a John Deere, and I don't think you can get 15 gallons out unless you slow way down.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
okay.
They probably had to slow way down.
Yeah. Well, they couldn't even go fast. Our fields are.
Or it might be a newer one, maybe.
Yeah, they're super small and on a hill, and yeah.
Well, and some stuff, more gallons per acre isn't always better. I mean, we get a better kill on burn down and with herbicide at 2 gallons per acre than you'll get with 10 because those droplets are
hot,
way hotter than what. I mean, you're watering it down a lot more.
Yeah.
Now, one thing I believe in, won't hardly do any work without, is drift control. And
like a good DRA. What do you like? Not that you're advertising for them, but you're just telling.
Rain.
Rain.
Yeah, REIGN, I think how you spell it. It's really similar to a clasp, but clasp, we've had problems with it turning into like a blob of jello in the jug.
Okay.
If it gets into sunlight, it gets hot, and we've not had any issues with rain. It seems to flow good. You can physically, you can see the difference in real time. You can be flying with no rain in there, go pour a quart in your mix, and let it agitate while you're flying that load and fill up the next load, and you can see the difference.
No way.
Wow.
Yes.
Wow. But did you guys have any problems with your droplet size not being what you have maybe chose? So see, if you're choosing 300, it's either bigger or smaller.
I really don't have a way to.
You haven't tested it?
I don't have a way.
Okay. But you would say, visually looking at it, it's doing what it's saying it is.
Yeah. I think not every droplet with a rotary atomizer is going to be the same size. So if you set it at 320 or 400, I say that you're going to have a range there where you're going to see like some 280s and you're going to see some 375s or you'll see some 350s to 425s. But I think the technology there is advancing. Have you seen all the atomizers here? There's like 4 different types now. And last year there was one. Everybody had the same thing.
Yeah.
Well, there's probably between our – if you pick two of our any 2 of our T50s with different acres on it, they're probably going to be different.
I think so too.
Okay.
Just with
slightly.
And why is that? You think?
I mean, I'm sure it's a part that's plastic. It's got to wear. I mean,
or warp or not come out of the mold exactly the same or something.
Because I'm going to explain it to the listener. The atomizer is kind of like a cup that is spinning, and then it's sending out the fluid that is sitting in the cup, sliding through gaps, we could call it. Yeah. And so you're saying that those little cutters that are plastic could wear down.
I mean, I'm sure it would. I mean,
it only makes sense, right?
Water cut the Grand Canyon.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Valid point.
You think it can't cut a piece of plastic? I mean, it's got to wear it, I think.
Well, especially it's not like we're just putting water through the drone all the time. It's
other stuff.
It's a solution.
What all's in that? A lot of them, there's stuff that'll separate out in there. I mean, it's got to be something that'll would cause some sort of abrasion.
What about? I've had a guy on the podcast talking about spillover. So, say we're doing 2 gallon work. The atomizer, let's call it disc or cup, can hold that 2 gallons an acre. But when you go to 5 gallons an acre, can it hold all of that without spilling out?
So flooding, right?
Flooding.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay.
Have you ever thought of that or not really?
So that 2 gallons an acre or 5 gallons an acre is coming through a piece of 3/8 tubing.
Yep.
And that atomizer is probably 3.5 inches across.
Yep.
So do you think you can flood 3.5 inches with a 3/8 inch?
I'm not sure. I mean,
at a certain
like
point, I'm sure you could, but I don't.
I can't see
the capacity.
Yeah.
So.
You can test it on the ground too. You could take a slow motion camera.
Me and Landon did that. What was that camera we had in that we did slow motion shooting of the atomizer? But we were shooting at how many frames? Yeah, and
so
we did that on the T50, and there was no spillover.
Right.
None. Like,
I don't see how. I mean, I don't think the pumps don't make enough pressure. This has to be low pressure to be compliant with. You can't run high pressure on spraying.
Okay.
So
the T60X has a high pressure spray atomizer. Would you know how that works?
I'm not sure.
Yeah.
It is a different atomizer out there, but I'm sure there's an acceptable limit. But anytime you go take your state applicator test, they're going to ask you about pressures, and always low pressure is the way to go, like as far as drift control.
For a rotary atomizer, or is that for any type of spray?
I think that's everything.
Okay, because I've never run a sprayer that. What is it when you have to change your tips? What's that
just
called?
a tip change.
Tip.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, those are low pressure.
Yeah.
No, would that be low pressure?
Yeah, you're talking
8 psi to 40 psi.
Yeah, anywhere from and probably more like from 15 to 40 probably.
Okay. Mm-hmm. So
the old spray coops, we had a gauge on the hood, and you would see it go up. You're like, oh, I'm getting it now. We didn't know what we were doing.
So you said you're on number 4 trailer, drone trailer.
I think so, right?
Are you guys flying off of top of a trailer?
Yes. So last year we had an Apex trailer for a little bit. I got set up with them as a dealer for them, and I got a trailer. They sent us a whole bunch of acres, and they want us to run their trailer, so we run it for the summer.
What do you mean they sent you acres?
They hired us to come up there.
Oh, okay.
And help.
Okay.
Yeah. They didn't have enough people to cover the acres.
Oh, okay.
They needed some help covering their acres. So
all right.
we come up there.
How'd you like that trailer?
I liked the dog house. I liked the work area with the stairs and stuff.
Was it a trailer where you were flying the drones and landing up top, or
You could.
Okay.
Yeah, you could. Now, we landed up top a few times. We didn't land up top all the time, and then we built a trailer that we could land on top of. And then one of our customers wanted it, and he bought it. So now we have another trailer that we're building right now, and it's going to get a top deck.
You need a NuWay trailer. I got to get you one. Because for a guy like yourself that puts that many acres on, I'd like to see what you think.
Okay.
Running off of it. Because I like to brag on our floor. There's no other trailer that has a floor like ours. It's solid. It's like not chintzy. And
on the trailer that we have now, I was going to use this stuff they use on boat docks.
Okay.
And it's like an inch thick. It's plastic, and it's got elongated holes in it. And you can screw it down. It's like pre-set up for where you put your screws and everything. They interlock together so you can build a flush floor.
Okay.
It's kind of high end. That's what I was going to put up there.
Okay.
But
interesting.
Yeah. And we like a gooseneck. We like a gooseneck.
We have a gooseneck option available now.
We tried the bumper pull, and for us going over these water breaks and terraces and things like that, we were having problems bottoming out when we would go over the water breaks.
Yeah.
And then getting into these forestry things, whenever you would go up a steep hill, it seemed like it put a lot more pressure on the back tires, and we had problems getting stuck.
Okay.
But with a gooseneck, it evens that pressure out, puts you some pressure on the front tires, and
How many forestry acres are you spraying?
I'm gonna guess 2,000.
Yeah. Is it mostly like cutover stuff, or they like take pines out?
Okay. Yeah. We haven't done any release spray yet, but
what's release spray?
So if you had a stand of loblolly pines or slash pines, you would use a chemical called a mazapir. It's a soil-active herbicide, and if they had some sweet gums that had sprouted up into the stand of pines, you would spray over the top of that, and it would selectively kill those hardwoods through the soil.
Wow. Yeah. So it would not affect the pine trees?
At the right rate, it will not.
Okay.
That's pretty darn impressive.
But it makes it too hot.
It'll
the
kill
difference
everything.
in 24 ounces and 18 ounces is a couple $1,000s an acre in your pocket.
Oh, my gosh. Yeah. Oh, my gosh. That would be a high-risk job for me. I'm nervous just spraying any type of herbicide just because of drift, right? Mm-hmm. Like you said, there's people that, you killed my stuff and I'm 5 miles down the road. I was like, oh, geez, yeah. No.
I mean, I would say down here we spray as much herbicide as anything.
No way.
Wow.
Mm-hmm. And you're saying it does just as good as a ground rig?
Oh, yeah.
With 2 gallons an acre.
I'd argue that it does better, but because I think you get that much better of a kill.
You just got to be careful on your ends. Do y'all do the boundary route?
Auto route boundary.
You do?
I mean, sometimes we don't.
Okay. We don't like to run the boundary route because there's so many limbs and stuff that grow out, and the satellite imagery sometimes is a little old.
Yeah.
So it seems like if you don't run the boundary route, and you touch up manual plus on the edges and stuff with herbicide, it seems to you have less problems with the drones turning around and avoiding obstacles and things.
So we fly around the edge of the field with the drone, building the boundary that way.
Yep. I've done that too.
Yep.
So.
And with dropping the points.
Yeah.
It works.
Yep.
It works good.
So
you guys would do it with just Google Maps, build your field that way?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
So we've had farmers request fungicide they want applied with an auto route boundary to kind of paint in those edges. They felt like they could see the disease pressure on the edges where the drone maybe came to a stop and then the little section was missed when it turned.
No, it makes sense. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So it's just I think it takes a little bit more time. It takes a few more minutes.
It does. Yeah, it does take a little bit more time.
Mm-hmm. And we want to do a good job, but if we can, on herbicides, if you can touch up those edges in manual plus.
So you would just fly around the whole edge using
And
manual plus and spraying?
Yeah, especially on burn down, because if you over applicate a little bit, you're not going to hurt. There's not a standing crop.
Yeah.
Right.
So, we just want to make sure that we touch up the edges.
So do your prices vary based on what you're spraying? Because sometimes you have to fly or slower or faster.
Wildly.
Okay.
A big variation in price.
Yeah.
And depending on the crop and the clean out procedures and things like that.
Ah, that's valuable stuff. It's like,
Yes.
because people, getting into it. What do I charge? Well, you're going to have to feel out the market. I don't know what your market is, this and that. That's something that only experience will really help a guy get figured out.
So some of our clean out chemicals are $100 a gallon.
Jeez.
Don't take a whole gallon, but you want to definitely put a quart in there to clean your mix tank out and circulate it through all the lines, and then you got to clean that out.
Yep.
Because it'll deactivate chemical.
Oh.
So you want to make sure you deactivate what's in there,
Right.
and then you want a clean slate to going forward.
Yeah.
Where corn and beans, you just go from corn to beans, corn to beans, corn to beans. Well, if you go from pine trees to peanuts to cotton,
Oh, yeah.
back to corn, it needs to be. It's got to be spotless. There can't be nothing stuck in a valve.
So is there an all-around cowboy cleaner that you like?
No.
No, okay.
So we use ammonia, Clorox, all clear, and then sometimes just Dawn. I mean, it depends on what.
And who taught you what you need to use on what herbicides or whatever you're spraying?
Yeah, our chemical rep and experience.
A lot of it comes from the label. I mean,
And the label.
Okay.
the label is probably the most underutilized tool that I hear of anybody. They won't read the label, and they're not always the easiest to read, but it'll tell you everything that you need to know about each of the chemicals
And the situation and the droplet size and how much water you got to use, and
Yeah, label is the law, but a lot of people they might not look at it.
from front to back.
Mm-hmm.
I suggest you know it.
Yep, that's good. So reading the label is going to tell you what type of cleaner you're going to need.
It usually does. Usually it's towards the back of the label.
And is that on every chemical?
No.
Just
I don't
herbicide?
think so, right? Is it in everyone?
I'm not sure if it's required in a label, but if it's required, it'll be in every single chemical label.
If it's required by the chemical, it will be in the label, is what he's saying, right?
Oh, okay.
But-
He had a class on chemical labels in Auburn
I got a-
University.
That's cool.
It's handy.
good.
It's handy
No,
information.
and it's valuable. It's again, that's what this podcast is for. It's just valuable information because sometimes. Okay, so I'll tell you how I think about it. When I'm flying thermal drones and I'm finding deer, people are asking what I think are like. Why would you ask that question? It's common sense. But like when we're talking about this, you're saying it's on the label.
Yeah.
People don't know that, but
It's not common sense if you don't know it.
yeah,
Right.
Nope. But sometimes just talking about it is actually really good.
Yeah, all you got to do is spark that fire, right?
Yeah.
Get somebody to think about it, and then maybe it'll be useful to
Yeah.
them. Hopefully it will.
Well, I mean, for what it's worth, even though you don't sign it or anything, that label is a legally binding document. If you don't follow it,
It's just like you running a stop sign.
you're liable for it whether you looked at it or not. So
Yeah.
Yeah, if you're not following the label,
Yeah.
you're doing illegal.
Drive
So-
drunk
Yep.
through a school zone and run over a kid, and you're going to prison.
Yep.
Same thing.
That's
And-
good.
So give us an idea of like bottom end pricing per acre to top end pricing per acre.
Bottom, I don't like to be any cheaper than $10. But that's tough. Like,
$10 per acre,
Things
flat, open.
Things got to go well too. You got to have a decent day. And
No, wait, but you're giving a price prior to starting the job. You can't say, well, if it goes good, then it's going to be this price. Or
Yeah,
right?
but you have questions we ask,
Okay,
right?
okay.
You know, do you have a water source? Have you tested your water source? What's your fields look like? How many acres do you have?
Oh.
What are we spraying? What's the crop? What's the chemical? You know, you want to before you ever commit to anything, you want as much information as you can get.
Yeah.
I mean, you wouldn't take off
So
and drive
what-
to New York with $20 in your pocket in a Ford Pinto from 1987. I mean, you want to go.
Okay,
as much.
so why would you ask? So I'm going to go through some of those water tests. Why would you test your water?
Okay, so iron can take the effectiveness out of some herbicides.
Okay.
Well,
so
and,
if it has iron
like
in it,
pH and alkalinity of the water, all that you can have a chemical failure from the water not being right. And
Okay. And do you test your water every time when you put it in your tank? Or
if
how's
it's
that
not
work?
a known well, we have a test kit in the truck.
Okay.
If it is a known established well and it's been there for many years,
if a lot of them we pull water from before. So once we've kind of been there and pull water from there, we're not really going to check it again. But
city water systems are the worst. Their water varies more than anything else
Okay. This is valuable.
because they treat that water.
Yeah.
And you got a young kid that's 18 years old that just went to some class, and he's like, oh, yeah, you dump some of this in there. Well, he don't measure nothing because the guy that showed him didn't measure nothing.
Yeah.
You know,
No,
they're
this
like,
is
yeah,
good,
put it-
guys. Okay, so does water, for every chemical, does water have to be a certain something, whatever it's called? Like pH has to be this level?
So I would say insecticides and fungicides are less susceptible, would you think?
I'm not sure if they're less susceptible if you're just not going to see it. Like,
You're
if
not
you
gonna
look
see it as
out,
much.
You're not going to say, I mean, you could see the end results and say, oh, well, there's,
Something
tar
happened.
spot everywhere out here. This fungicide didn't do anything. But with a herbicide, you're going to know in a week, oh, well, this didn't do anything.
Mm-hmm.
So
With certain herbicides, you might know that today.
yeah.
So on the label, is the label going to tell you that?
No, not usually.
I'm not really
I've
sure.
never
off the
seen
top of my head.
So how's somebody going to know what the pH balance stuff should be?
You can go to Walmart and buy a pool test kit.
Correct, but I'm saying like where should it be for this chemical to react to it properly?
Yeah, so you don't want it. So alkalinity is basically a measurement of the water to return back to itself. So when people drink alkaline water, it's kind of gimmicky.
Okay.
Because it's just resisting chemical change, alkalinity is. And then your pH is going to be how acidic or alkaline. What's the other side of it?
Base.
Acidic, base, acidic or base. So you want it pretty neutral.
Neutral.
On your pH, pretty close to 6.4 to 7.2.
Yeah,
something like
somewhere
that. And
So if I do a water test
Mhm.
and I pull it out, give it a couple minutes,
seconds.
wave it around, do it, measure it up. I know how these work. I'm just trying to talk it through so the listener that's listening is trying to learn. Everything should be neutral, or certain things can be high.
It's got a chart
Yeah.
on the side. If you've seen the thing, it's got a chart, and it'll tell you what's high and low, and then
And you just try to get it balanced.
try to get it balanced. And there's chemicals that will balance it. Choice
Yep.
Trio
Yeah, we have water treatment
on the
chemicals.
trailer.
Okay.
Yeah, we learned something. Well, you don't want to mix that choice with 2,4-D,
Yeah,
right?
it'll turn into a block.
Oh no!
Go get some better water.
No way.
Yep.
Yeah,
At least that was for me personally. So
That's
Okay, and that was just it wouldn't have told you that this is going to happen.
That's where your jar test comes in, right?
Oh, yeah.
So if you have a mix-up that you've never done before, follow your wells mixing order, and then do a test sample. We like to do a half acre or an acre test sample, mix it up, let it sit, stir it up, give it some time, make sure everything's going to mix up right.
we had another chemical that turned into like Jello almost.
What was it?
We had that
We
once,
had
too.
that once, but
Yep.
the guy wanted molasses in his fungicide. And it
I
was,
hate it.
it was like
Remember we had it in Indiana, too.
Mass-
Well,
Two
that's,
year-
that's
2 years
what I'm
ago.
talking about.
Okay.
That's the only one I remember.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't remember what happened, though. I do remember. Oh, it was Triclopyr 3 and Makazi,
Yeah.
generic brand glyphosate.
And it was turning. It was almost like
So
crystallizing in the jug.
So that wasn't a water problem because we were like, we have to figure out what's going on. And like, we use this mix up all the time. You know, it's something
Yeah.
with you. And I'm like, no, it ain't. No. And so I was like, let's go get some. And we just put glyphosate, the Makazi, and the Triclopyr 3 in a jug. And it turned
and the
into
water.
like,
We just did like an acre mix.
We tried it both ways, right? We tried it with water first, and then we tried it just the 2 chemicals together, and it turned like instantly, not instant, 15, 20 minutes, it turned into a brick.
Wow. Yeah.
They just didn't react right.
So these types of experiences that you guys have had with chemical, it shouldn't necessarily scare people away.
Nah.
It's just knowledge that a guy should have on asking the customer questions about, do you have water there? Is it good water? Should I do a test? And all that stuff.
Atrazine, y'all do a lot of atrazine?
Uh-huh.
Don't use any leftover atrazine. If it ain't a brand new jug, tell them you ain't going to use it.
Why is that?
It does the same thing.
Oh.
It sets up over the wintertime, and it doesn't handle temperature changes real well. It doesn't handle storage real well. As long as it's fresh, it's fine. But
dude, this is good. Wealth of knowledge. And the knowledge that you have is because you guys are farmers. That's good. Because guy like myself, I've never been a farm. I mean, I grew up on a farm, but we weren't farmers.
Right.
I know drones, and I want to always learn more about the drones. But then you guys are telling me, not only drone stuff, but farming stuff and the chemical stuff. Because I've been scared on herbicide. I just don't want that risk. It's like, but fungicide is a little, it's easier to.
It's less risky.
Less risky, yeah.
Herbicides definitely need to take temperature into account as far as temperature and humidity combined. A lot of times there's a combined factor. A lot of times it's 150. So if you have 150 combined points of temperature and humidity, they will volatilize and they will move on you. Gramoxone is real bad about it.
2,4-D. Wow.
Triclopyr is bad about it. 2,4-D is bad about it. And ester versus amine.
How does a guy get all this knowledge? Can he go to
follow me around for 40 years?
Yeah. Exactly. So there's no good way to gain this.
And a lot of it, like with chemicals, your chemical guy, if you have a good chemical guy,
you need to find somebody that's conservative enough not to get you in trouble, but not so conservative that you won't ever do anything.
Yep.
Yeah.
On there's, glyphosate. Roundup Power Max doesn't mix with everything just the same as Makazi or
Cornerstone.
Because there's different surfactants, and some of them won't mix with other stuff. And having a good chemical guy will.
So you could take Makazi, and it wouldn't mix with Triclopyr 3. You could take Makazi and mix it with Remedy, or you could mix it with Triclopyr 4.
Or Roundup Power Max with Triclopyr 3, and it's fine, but it's usually a good chemical guy will catch that, and he'll tell you that these won't mix.
So guys that are new that are listening to this, they're you're spitting out these names that have never they've never heard of this. It's like when I first got started, I was told the word fungicide. I was like,
What's that?
What's fungicide?
It burns.
Yeah.
Don't get it on your face.
Yeah. I just didn't know. But you guys are spitting out these.
It burns when you have it on your hands and you go take a piss.
Yeah, that's a bad day. You'd rather piss down your leg.
Yeah. Just don't hold it. Just
don't squishy. Is there any other chemical you think of that we may have ever had a problem with?
Nothing off the top of my head.
So that's get a good chemical guy, be an agronomist probably, that he should have mixed these chemicals at one point and help guys to understand it.
Oh, and that's like you were talking about pricing. Like what we're putting in the tank is what we might dictate some of the pricing. If it's going to take me 2 hours to wash out, we're going to charge a little more because.
But see, only experience is going to know that. Because when, Henry is cleaning out and it's taking him 2 hours and he's thinking about
10 o'clock at night with a power washer inside a tank because it turned into Jell-O down there.
Yep.
And you got to figure out what to do with everything that comes out of it legally.
That and then knowing, I'm going to go to 3 100-acre fields today versus, I got to go to 40 different fields.
Yep.
It's,
also, how busy are you?
Yep.
If you're booked up for 3 weeks out, you need to raise your prices.
Yeah.
If you're booked up for 3 or 4 days out, you're probably pretty close on your price.
That's good. So how far have you traveled for an application? The furthest?
You think Texas? Or
Texas was farther.
Texas was further. We went almost to Mexico.
West Texas.
Southwest Texas.
How many miles was that? 1,000?
No.
800?
800.
Okay.
For how many acres was that?
2,000.
Okay.
Okay. Huh.
Yeah, but it was a good price. It was.
How long did it take you?
3 days.
3 days.
At 4 gallons an acre.
Okay. 4 nozzles or 2 nozzles?
2 nozzles.
2 nozzles.
Yeah.
How many drones?
We were running 2, and then there was a guy there. He had his own drone. We were there to help him.
Yanni.
Yanni. That's cool.
Yeah,
so 3 drones technically got 2,000 acres knocked out in 2 days?
3.
3 days.
And he started a day ahead of us.
Okay.
But I think he had some startup problems, some issues with.
There's never a problem with spray drones, right?
No. I think it was his trailer.
Oh. No, I was joking. Like it's like it doesn't always go smoothly.
No, nothing ever does.
Yeah.
I mean, it don't matter if you're going to plant corn, you're going to pick cotton, you're going to combine peanuts or corn.
Or bag corn for the
bag
deer
corn.
hunters.
I mean, shoot, there'll be a day. My first day spraying by myself, I sprayed 250 acres in the afternoon. And then I'll have days now where I'll get I sprayed by myself the other day, and I got 100 acres done, and it took me all day just from moving around and a
Small
6 acre
stuff,
field,
yep.
an 8 acre field.
Yeah, that's another thing. I mean, we're not pitching a get-rich, quick scheme. I don't think if anybody thinks they're going to hop into this and just
Make a killing
overnight
without work. Yeah, this is hard work.
This is hard work.
So I'm doing an ad right now, right? And it looks good. $132,000 in 24 days, did 11,000 acres. But they don't know how hard I worked. And
you were up at 2 a.m. getting stuff ready, and you went to bed at 11.
Yeah.
Yep.
You got it. Dude, that's almost right.
And there was a week last year I worked over 100 hours in a week.
Yeah, I believe it.
Yeah, that's no big deal.
Yeah. Yeah, you got to be willing to work for it.
And by the way, before you go spray, go check them steers. Make sure they're not out. Put out a roll of hay.
You need a thermal drone if you're going to do that. Just quickly fly it over there and check out the steers.
Yeah, check them out, look at them, make sure there ain't one about to die, and then let's go work. Go work our other job.
Yep.
Or go plant corn all week long, and then, hey, Sunday morning before you go to church, go knock out 12 acres for me because it's a favor for somebody.
Yep. Would you say that the market is flooded? Too many drone applicants? Not flooded.
Not here.
Not here.
No. But
what percentage of your work is done in Alabama?
80, 85.
Okay.
80, yeah. I would say, I don't know, maybe. That in Illinois is a big deal. I don't want to undersell that. So let's just go with 60.
That sounds pretty. Because we stay busy.
You're busy most of the time here,
right? From January 2nd to December 15th.
Well, I can tell you this: if you are capable or able to pick up more acres, I got guys that would be ready to go.
That always scares me, Yeah. I want to do a good job. And I don't want to put somebody out there.
This would be. Me and directly working with them because I also want to do the best job. Yeah. So
that would be fine.
With the experience that you have, dude, I might be over here doing my own thing and making videos and stuff, but that doesn't mean I know everything.
Sure. Nobody does.
Exactly. But coming and you telling me, Mike, you got to do this, you got to do that, what that's going to do is when I go back home,
make you better.
I'm going to be better.
Iron sharpens iron.
Yep.
All our traveling, we really get to see a lot, and it's how much different it is when we went to up in Indiana and Illinois, and from what I've heard even up to where y'all are, people will schedule they're spraying out, and down here everybody wants to try and I don't know of a co-op or a chemical sales place that has a sprayer.
Nope.
Oh, yeah?
Everybody wants to do their own, and if they're calling us, we'll get 20 calls on the same day because it rained and nobody can get in, and the mindset is completely different for.
So this year,
most guys have their own ground rigs down here.
Mm-hmm. Almost everybody.
Really? Wow.
But you're doing some of those acres now?
A lot of them.
Oh yeah.
So
because they don't want to smash their crop, or why?
Compaction, running over crop. It's too wet to get out there. Cost. So that 4730 sprayer. It's got 3,000 hours on it, and the motor blew up last year. It was $30,000 to build a motor for it. I could have bought another drone if it just sold 2 weeks before that. Henry had the same experience. He bought a sprayer for himself at 4710, and then he got it home and sprayed 1 day with it. And the motor blew up.
I sprayed a day, and the motor blew up in it. And
I
thought about the drone. This was a month before I started working with Jesse, and before that I'd done some crop consulting. I was a crop scout, and I we'd actually looked at drones, and it was when the T-30s were out, and we just never did it. And I was like, I don't know. I've seen a lot of videos. I'm not sure how well they work.
Yeah.
And then going and doing it, and I mean, even with working, I'm probably going to wind up getting my own personal just for me.
You know the crazy thing? You blow up a motor in a big thing like that, and you're spending $30,000.
And you got no choice about it either.
Yeah, right. You have a motor go bad on a drone, $300.
Yeah.
Well, unless you crash from the bad motor, but
well,
that's true.
But
but
still,
still,
it's still not going to be
at the
30
most, like you're talking a couple $1,000.
I think the worst one we ever had was like $5,000, and it was it didn't look like a drone.
Yeah.
It looked like a spaghetti. Junk. It looked terrible, and it flew again.
Yeah.
And we still have it. We call it he's Billy Ray. We don't put a mullet on him.
Billy Ray.
It's the one I started with. So we had these old guys that worked for us whenever I was a kid. They worked for us since as long as I can remember. They're dead now. They both died. They were Billy Ray and Red, and they were brothers. And anyway, I named my first 2 drones after them because we used to work together as kids. And I've been all over this country riding with either them on back of the truck or the back seat or in a tractor or something, you know. And so I was like, I was trying to think of a creative name, and I was like, just Billy Ray and Red will do. You know, I can send them out there, and they can keep on working with them.
We had names for our drones, but then they all hit something or something, and it was like, the heck with names.
We couldn't keep up with names anymore.
We had this old ornery guy that worked for us for a long time, and he would do things like we'd put him on a tractor to dist, and he would fold the wings up, like not all the way up, just high enough where they wasn't in the ground, and he would keep on disting. I'm talking about not 10 acres. I'm talking about like 100 acres with him turning around, and you can see all the way across the field where it's like a strip dist, and then but he hit the remote button by accident because he's just an old school farmer who didn't have electronic controls, and he folded the wings up a little bit. So we got one named Gerald Bird now after him. We did some burn down, and Gerald streaked up a little bit of burn down. It was kind of windy, and looking back on it, I'm like, he's still at it. He's still doing it.
We did get to see, because that was both of us were flying that day, and we could see.
We did a side by side, 400 versus 500, Michael.
And
you could see the difference.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah.
And I mean, it wasn't big streaks, but it was a little. It'd be
between what?
Yeah,
the 500 streak more or the 400?
The 500 didn't streak at all, and the 400 streak just a little. I mean, it was a little bit windy, but
it was a little windy.
That's interesting, dude. You guys have so much knowledge. I would love to come applicate with you guys. Like I have, 11,000, 15,000, 20,000 under my belt with fungicide, but I feel like I could become a better applicator by being with somebody guys like yourselves, because you're into the farming industry, you know chemical a lot more than I do, and you've done burn down and herbicides that I've never done, streaking. I want to learn all that stuff. So if you have an opportunity sometime, I would probably take you up on it.
No, I mean, I would think that you're probably way busier than me, and
I am very busy. But I'm not busy enough. I'm not
take a day or 3.
But I want to learn, right? Yeah. So if I want to learn, I got to make time.
You ought to come back and see some forestry stuff, man. You would probably.
Dude, I'd love to. Even just come shoot it and show people what you guys are capable of doing.
It's pretty gnarly to think about, an old dead snag tree out there, and you're having to go slow enough to blow it down in there and do a good job, and then go back and see it. I can show you.
Are you guys pre-mapping this stuff?
Yeah. So a lot of times, and that will.
A lot of the forestry is not pre-mapped. They'll call us and say, hey, we got, and they never know how many acres they really have. They'll say 40, and it's 20, or it'll be 100.
Yeah.
Okay.
And you show up, and that's where we really do a lot of the mapping with the drone, with the hotkey, is because we can fly it around, and we know where the snag, we can mark, waterways that have trees in them still and everything else.
Yep.
So you have to leave those.
So you guys aren't mapping them with like a Mavic or anything like that?
We have.
Okay.
But most of the time we just fly around.
And it's just us. So one of us would have to stop spraying to go map fields.
Yep.
And that's another thing. When going back to the cost again, if we have the fields mapped already, it's a lot quicker to just pull up there, unfold, and go out. If it's mapped, even if I have to download it on the remote, then having to map.
I was going to look and see how many fields we have mapped right now.
And you use only DJI drones right now?
Right now,
okay.
Yes. So,
where do you guys see yourselves going? Are you going to go the EA route, or are you going to go the T60X route?
I like Taylor, and I like some of the agri-spray people. A lot of them are really good. I don't want to say something that I'm not supposed to say.
No. I think it's all right. This like. So I've told Taylor how I feel about the EA. It's not there. In my opinion, right now, it's just not there. It's not quite ready.
Right.
Will it get there? It has the opportunity to. But, like, the way I feel with it right now, it was pushed to the market really, really fast. And so my thing is, if it is so good, why do we have all these problems right now?
And that's what
I think the industry should know that it's okay that you can say how you feel. Because if we have to watch what we're saying just because, this guy is not going, it's not personal. It's not on a personal level, right? Like that I don't like Taylor. Mad respect for him and his company and what he's built. But as far as the drone, this is what I think of the drone.
I agree. I think it's not there.
Well,
I think it might be there in a month. They may have it die.
Yeah, they are working on it very fast, and they are improving it every
I just
week,
look. We got
2 weeks.
663 fields mapped out that we go to regularly.
Regularly. Wow.
One of my biggest hang-ups and it's not just the EA, it's in general. I don't really like the LiDAR compared to having a radar and because, I mean, how often when you land are you having to vision sensors blurred?
Yep.
Especially with fungicide, we wind up, I mean, our drones will be nasty. And
Yep.
And Jesse gets on me all the time. I'm not very good about cleaning off in general.
Yep.
I'll have a
He didn't
drone
have to pay for it.
I'll have a drone that's white. And I just feel like the LiDAR is going to have that being the only system on there is going to have more problems.
There's no redundancy.
With
or little redundancy. That camera on there is garbage.
Like the FPV. I was told you don't need FPV. That's what Taylor was telling me, like, do people really use FPV? I was like, I fly FPV
He
all the
said
time.
they did a survey.
Yeah, they did a survey to see what people.
Nobody had an issue, that was.
But I believe, Jay, the problem is people just overlook it. It's like we don't even think about it. It's just something that's been on the DJI drones that have been really good because DJI builds cameras first and then drones next.
The problem with surveys is they go out to everybody.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, and I mean,
look at Family Feud. Have you ever watched that? I mean, they survey those people, and the answers they come up with is you can't imagine.
Survey says wrong.
Well, and we toyed around with the XAG a little bit, but after having the FPV with the DJI, I don't know how I would stand there and fly all day and not have a heart attack or a stroke from not being able to see what I'm actually doing.
You guys are gonna flip.
The
T60X is insane. The FPV is insane.
They're gonna have to give me like some Xanax if I get an XAG. Just not knowing, it might be great, but just not knowing it would drive me insane.
Yeah, that's like I sold a DJI drone to a Helio guy, and I asked him about the FPV, and he's like, "You got to realize I've been flying drones for 2 years and never knowing what's going on with it because he didn't have a camera. It just was so shitty, and he didn't even care about it."
By the way, Helio's not here, right?
I didn't even think of that.
I didn't see him, but I didn't even think about it.
I hadn't seen him.
Oh no, that's not good, is it?
No.
That means they're on the. I seen they're trying to do another crowdfunding thing. They need another $1 million or something.
Oh yeah, just let me get that out of my front pocket. I don't know. I've looked at that system and I didn't like the giant controller. You know.
Oh, dude, it's
Well, it's super expensive too.
Yeah. You can buy.
How many batteries was Aaron running?
It was ridiculous.
It was like,
dude, do you remember the guy that came up
shit?
from, was it Alabama, that bought the trailer?
Yeah, I think he was from Alabama.
Oh,
yeah, watch those guys.
Yeah.
Make sure the check clears.
All the Alabama guys? Yeah. Well, it cleared.
Talking about us.
But he had Helio as well.
He switched to DJI.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah. Oh, anyhow.
I like DJI. I really wish that they wasn't under the scrutiny that they're under. I think we've had fairly good success. I think the T40 had some issues, but the T50 is a solid unit.
Yep, I agree.
You can go make a living with the T50.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
The T40, we had several crashes that were, in my opinion, probably
equipment related.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yep.
Henry had one that was they ruled it pilot error, but a motor went out and it started spinning in circles and then come down and
Did it have a load on it?
It was full.
It was full.
Okay.
It wasn't.
What would have happened if you wouldn't have tried to take it over manually?
It would have crashed.
I didn't have time to take it over manually. It was on route. It went out and started the route, and it just I was like, why the heck is my camera spinning? And I look up and it's just and that was it. It wasn't. There was no warning.
Okay, so I wondered about that. Could a 50 handle a full load with a motor out? No.
No,
Okay.
no, it doesn't matter if it's 4 motor, 8 motor. If it's designed to pick that load up, they're not going to design something with twice as many motors. So, if you
the 50s will fly with one motor empty.
Empty,
yeah.
I had a motor go bad mid-flight, and it
but not
flew
full.
fine.
Not full.
No,
Yeah, I think you can overcome that issue if it's empty, but it's too much. One side's just gonna
Yeah, honestly, like it flew pretty good, but you could tell the one side was kind of light, like it wanted to go down.
I had 2 motors. I was one of my first time I was doing cover crop. You know the plastic stuff they put around the pallets of bags.
Yeah.
It was like my first year, and I was doing cover crop, and I didn't realize that drone would suck that up. It was a 40, and I was like going to move the drone to the other side of the trailer, and I was by myself. And I'm like, I just fly it over there. And I had opened up that plastic, and it sucked it up, and it stopped 2 motors, and that thing was empty, but that T-40 flew, and I landed it with 2 motors sucked up with that plastic wrap, and I just cut it out and cleaned it up, and I finished the job.
Wow.
But when people say these 4-motor drones, and you lose a motor, it's going down, well, I mean, I think the 8-motor drone's the same way. If it's loaded, it's going down. But if it's, I mean, I'm not in the business of flying empty drones.
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, so we're not flying empty drones most of the time.
Yeah, and I mean, it's not desirable. I mean, I'd rather it be full all day long, but you got to fill it up.
Probably my personal biggest hang-up, just and they could fix it with the J100 is the no geofencing.
Mm-hmm.
I think
no geofencing.
Like
for airports and stuff.
Well, for airports and football stadiums and
water treatment plants.
You know, like
that it has or it doesn't.
It doesn't have.
Why do you want it?
Because somebody could do something with one of these drones, and we wouldn't be able to have drones anymore.
Oh, you know that's coming off. And
I had to sign a terrorism waiver on our insurance this year.
Mm-hmm.
Really?
Yeah. You don't have to do that?
Oh, we haven't had to yet.
Yeah.
But now if they listen to this, they're going to be like, oh, I got to get Mike to do that.
Yeah, I had to sign a terrorism waiver. Like, I'm not a bad guy. I don't.
Whoa.
So I mean, it's a real.
I don't think terrorists are going to worry about insurance.
Yeah, me neither.
It's a real world issue that could cause it. I mean, who cares what country it comes from if somebody can do that with it? So
yeah, exactly. So I mean, you load up a drone with some bad stuff and fly it into a Super Bowl. You know.
Yeah.
At least we try to stop it. You know, at least put something. I mean, I know a fence isn't going to stop a burglar, but it is a fence.
Well,
I mean, we can try.
I have some predictions on that, on those high roller events like that. Mm-hmm. I think there's going to be a geo fence, not that you can't try to fly it in, but there's going to be like a magnetic fence that doesn't actually allow it.
I won't be able to walk through there, Mike. My leg will get stuck.
All of a sudden, you get sucked up over there. Dang, where are you going?
I got a ticket.
No, we took that the wrong way. Not a true magnetic, like, suck you in. I'm talking like a like a Bluetooth fence. Because when I drive my Tesla into a Tesla dealership, they know the moment I get on there because it's all Bluetooth surrounded.
Oh, yeah. What I'm thinking, FCC, have you seen that? Where FCC's coming after a couple of different manufacturers on the drone, the power of the drone remote, the wattage that it's putting out and stuff like that. I think we're going to go to a cellular-based system. So you could, they can monitor, because like the Matrice, you've flown that a bunch, and you can see other commercial aircraft on the radar whenever it's like it'll show their altitude like 7,400 feet and they're coming over you know. So I think that we're going to go to a cellular-based system is what I'm seeing.
It'd be better.
I would too. Yeah. I think so, because then you could use cellular-based towers to do your RTK corrections.
Yeah.
Or create a virtual RTK network off the cellular card in the drone.
Yep.
And then you don't necessarily need FPV. Obstacle avoidance should be getting better. I would like to have FPV, but if you have that cellular connection, and at least you know that the drone's running the route, and say that we can see the altitude, we can see the pump flow, we could see just your parameters in the bottom of the remote that you're normally seeing, and you're maybe not getting the image, at least you know everything's okay.
Well, I mean, without knowing our pump flow and stuff, like last year, I had a pump meter. Well, it was a pump meter went out, didn't it?
Yeah, it was. I think it ended up being the board on the back of the 40. You know, the board.
It was saying it was putting out like 2.3 gallons per minute, but I'd put out a load in 2.5 acres, and something
wrong.
wasn't right. So
that's something that people need to take into account to your flight summaries.
Yep.
You know, if you're supposed to be getting 6 acres or 7 acres or 5 acres on a load, then when it comes back, your route summary needs to say 5.3 acres or 7.5 acres. You need to see that and confirm that. You know, because
that's
you
good.
could be over applicating and not know.
Yep,
and
that's good.
Some of the stuff, it could cost you a lot of money.
A lot of money.
Do you guys, when you calibrate your drones, do you guys calibrate each different chemical? Or is it you calibrate it once and be all
We're
right?
putting out by volume.
Yep.
And the book answer is going to be, we calibrate it every time.
Yeah.
You know, but the reality is, you got a flow meter, you got scales. We know how many acres are supposed to be coming out of that drone. And whenever you get on your first flight, and you got 2.5 acres down, and it's got 5 gallons left, we're right on the money.
Yep.
And it'll be within the 100th of a gallon. It's so good.
Yeah. We have more issues with having to calibrate a lot for dry spreading than for
Yep. So the dry spreading, the T50 system, the free flow of coming through the gate doesn't seem like a good system. But that auger system on the T60X, I really like that. So that sucker was within 1 pound accuracy on the load and the acres. I was impressed.
So we did, 500 acres of Spike 20P? And we did it in the afternoon. Like
we
we
did it in a couple hours.
Yeah, we sprayed all day long, and then we went and flew 500 acres in the evening.
Dang.
And it was supposed to be put out at 10 pounds an acre, and we got it within 1/10 of a pound.
Wow.
Well, and some stuff,
pretty impressive.
it's going to depend
Is
on
that
what you're
smaller
putting
seed
through.
or bigger?
No, that's it's a herbicide.
Yeah, so
but it's like granular.
Okay.
It's almost like little pellets.
Yeah,
So it's kind of like a fertilizer granule.
No, it looks like a pellet grill pellet.
Yeah.
But it looks like you made them out of clay.
So it's consistent
Yes,
product.
it's very consistent.
Very consistent product.
We also did a job doing ryegrass, and between we had 2 different varieties, and there was 2 different lots with each variety, and we had differences between the lots with the same variety.
Yes. So you would, I ordered 8 pallets of ryegrass for this job, and there was 2 different lots. And we got through the first couple of pallets, and I'm like, wait, what's we're putting out too much or too little, whatever the case was. And I got to looking, there's a different lot number. And we had to recalibrate.
The weights were different between
the 2. Weights were different on the bags. Like one would have 62 pounds, and one would have 66 if you filled it all the way up.
Wow.
It's the same volume. It's the same hopper.
Density.
Yeah.
It was 4 to 6 pounds off.
I was doing a clover, and I feel like the 50s struggle with getting it right on clover.
Well, the rate's really low, right?
It's so
rate's low, and the seed is so small.
So small. It'll find a crack to go through. And
most people won't pay for clover down here.
Okay.
They want ryegrass, wheat, oats, and we put what do we do for Tim?
It was some sort of brassica, like a leafy plant.
Those seeds are normally nicer to spread than
a
clover, or no?
It was 2 pounds of these. It looked like pepper. They're super tiny, like a mustard seed, and it was like a leafy. It almost looked like almost grows like a mustard too, but it has some graze. It had nutritional value for a cow, which a wild turnip won't have much nutritional value, and they don't really want to eat them either. But so it was. I think it's called a rape or.
It was something like that.
Something like that. Anyway, so we would mixing. We'd do a bag of a tripoid ryegrass. We'd do a scoop of that, and then we'd do a bag of a bipoid ryegrass. And we was mixing it, just not super precise, but the weight per acre was good.
That's cool. All right, so we're going to close this thing, but what is one thing that you would tell somebody that wants to get into a drone spray business?
Be prepared to work a lot of hours.
There you go.
Be prepared to get sunburnt. Use the wind as a favor. Keep the wind at your back. Don't use any chemical that you're not 100% sure that you're not going to hurt yourself. You're not going to expose yourself to something. You're not going to get cancer in 40 years.
That's good. That's good. That's actually something you think about.
Yeah.
No way.
Well, I'm a cancer survivor.
Awesome.
Bone cancer, yeah.
Would you say it came from chemical?
Nah, I was 7.
Oh,
yeah,
wow.
It's no good.
Yeah. Okay, so you are actually watching the chemical because you're like, the heck, I'm getting cancer.
Yeah.
That's good.
Well, I mean, there's things that I think are overrated, right? Like, I don't think glyphosate's real dangerous, but gramoxone, yeah, is real dangerous.
And
And
we don't
how
use them.
does somebody learn about why is that dangerous? Why do you think that is dangerous? How does somebody learn that?
Well, it has a lethal death dose.
Yeah,
on
partially
the
on the label.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, and there's like a signal word, like for gramoxone, it's danger.
With skull and crossbones. And with Roundup, there's nothing. I mean, you can walk in Walmart and buy Roundup. So, I mean,
Any idiot can buy Roundup.
Yeah. If it's restricted, if you open the cap and there's tinfoil in there, you need to be careful. If it's got skull and crossbones on it, you open the cap, there's a safety mechanism on the cap, and there's tinfoil in there, it's real bad.
Okay. See, that's good. That's good because somebody that opens the cap and sees the safety cap and then sees the tinfoil, now they know. I heard it on the podcast.
Be careful.
That's good.
Don't drink it. Don't get any eyes. Don't get any open cuts. Don't take a bath in it. It's bad stuff.
Wow.
It's bad stuff.
Cool. Hey, guys, really appreciate you coming on.
Yeah.
Appreciate it.
Nice to meet you.
Yep.